All right, so you're getting ready for a wholesale merchant interview in the office machinery and equipment world, huh? That's exciting. We've got some RoleCatcher resources here that should really help you nail this interview. You can think of this deep dive as like your own personal masterclass in interview prep with some bonus career advice sprinkled in along the way.
I think it's interesting how we're not just talking about like selling printers and copiers here. This role is really about getting to know the needs of businesses and then finding the perfect solutions for them. And of course, those all important relationships with suppliers.
So let's take a closer look at some of these RoleCatcher resources. Start with the module overview, which gives us a good rundown of what wholesale merchants actually do. It says that they're responsible for maximizing profitability, but how do you actually go about doing that?
Well, maximizing profitability really boils down to understanding industry trends and then negotiating those really favorable deals with suppliers. And then, of course, managing your inventory really efficiently. You really need to keep a close eye on what's hot, what's not, and how to price things competitively.
Got it. The overview also mentions building strong supplier relationships. Why is that so crucial for this role?
Because those suppliers are your lifeline. They're the ones who are providing you with the products you need to meet all of your customers' demands. Building those strong relationships can really help you make sure you get the best prices, reliable delivery, and even access to those exclusive deals. It's more than just transactions, it's really a collaboration.
Yeah, like a true partnership. The overview also talks about what the work environment is like. Fast-paced, high pressure, but with a lot of potential for growth. I can see the appeal.
Mm.
But what are some of the downsides that someone should be aware of before jumping into this field?
Well, I think those long hours and tight deadlines can be pretty demanding. You might have to travel a bit to meet with clients and suppliers. And then you have to remember that the market is pretty competitive. You have to be comfortable negotiating and have a thick skin because not every deal is going to go your way.
Yeah, it sounds like you really need to be resilient and driven to thrive in this kind of environment. Now let's dive into what we're really here for, those interview questions. RoleCatcher provided us with 10 sample questions that they say are commonly asked for this type of role.
And what's really cool is that these aren't your run-of-the-mill generic interview questions. They're specifically designed for wholesale merchant positions in the office machinery and equipment world.
Exactly. So let's break them down one by one, starting with the first one. Tell me about your experience in wholesale merchandising. Now, this one seems pretty straightforward, but I'm sure there are some hidden layers we should unpack.
Definitely. This is your moment to really shine a light on all those relevant skills and experiences you've gained. But don't just repeat everything on your resume. Instead, really zero in on your specific achievements and use numbers to make your accomplishments pop. For instance, instead of just saying, I managed inventory, you could say, I put a new inventory management system in place that cut stockouts by 15% and boosted inventory turnover by 10%.
I love that numbers always pack a bigger punch. What if someone is switching careers and doesn't have direct experience in wholesale merchandising? How should they tackle this question?
That's where transferable skills come into play. Think about all the experiences you've had in past roles that showcase skills that are a good fit for this position. Did you manage projects, negotiate contracts, analyze data to make strategic decisions? It's all about framing those experiences in a way that shows you're a quick learner and can keep up in a fast-paced world.
So it's about drawing those connections and showing how your past has prepped you for this new challenge. Okay, moving on to question number 2. How do you stay up to date with industry trends and changes? This one feels like it's all about showcasing your passion and initiative.
Absolutely. Hiring managers want to see that you're truly excited about this industry and that you're always taking steps to stay informed. Don't just list generic sources like industry publications, name specific ones like the Canada Report or ENX magazine.
Yeah, name dropping those publications shows you're really in the know. What about attending conferences? Any suggestions for someone who's just starting out?
Absolutely. Attending industry events like ITEX or BTA National Convention is a must. You'll learn about all the latest trends, meet other professionals, and gain some invaluable insights.
That's a great tip. And remember, even if you can't make it in person, a lot of conferences have virtual options or post recordings of their sessions.
Mhm.
So there's really no excuse not to stay in the loop.
All right, question number 3 dives into the world of relationships. Can you describe your experience in developing and maintaining relationships with suppliers?
This is where you really want to go beyond just describing what you were responsible for. Share a specific story about how you built a strong connection with a supplier, maybe one that went further than just a basic transaction. Did you negotiate a tough deal that ended up benefiting both sides? Did you help a supplier solve a tricky logistics issue? The key is to show that you're not just focused on getting the lowest price, but on creating a win-win partnership. It's about understanding that collaboration is key. Now let's flip the script for a second. What's a good follow-up question you could ask yourself to prepare for any curveballs that might come your way?
I'd ask myself, what's the biggest lesson I've learned from a supplier relationship that didn't go so smoothly? Looking back at those challenges shows that you've grown and are self-aware. Did you realize how important clear communication is? Or the need to be flexible when unexpected things pop up? The goal is to show that you've learned and grown from those experiences.
Right, so let's say you had a supplier who was always late with deliveries. You talked to them about your concerns, but nothing changed. How did you handle that?
In that situation, I'd probably go to my manager and see if we could explore other suppliers. But before I did that, I would make sure everything was documented, all my conversations with the supplier, outlining how those delays were affecting our ability to meet customer needs.
That's a great example of thinking ahead and taking action.
Mhm.
Okay, let's move on to question number 4. How do you prioritize and manage your workload? This is a really standard interview question, but in a fast-paced field like wholesale, it takes on a whole new meaning.
It's all about demonstrating your ability to stay on top of multiple deadlines, adapt to shifting priorities, and stay organized. Explain your system, whether it's a simple to-do list, project management software, or a mix of different methods.
Okay, so let's imagine you're facing a mountain of tasks. You have a deadline breathing down your neck, and then bam, a new urgent request lands on your desk.
Yeah.
How do you figure out what to tackle first?
In that situation, I take a deep breath and assess the urgency and impact of each task. What's going to have the biggest immediate consequence if I don't get it done? Which one's the most crucial for reaching our overall goals? Then I talk to everyone involved to set realistic expectations and make sure we're all on the same page.
That's a great strategy. Now, before we go to the next question, I want to talk about something pretty awesome. Did you know that RoleCatcher has this AI that can actually help you tailor your answers to fit specific job descriptions?
It's true. The AI looks at the job posting and picks out the keywords and phrases that are most important to the hiring manager. Then it suggests ways to weave those keywords into your answers so they're more targeted and have a bigger impact.
And it even gives you feedback on how you deliver your answers. It analyzes your tone of voice pacing and even your facial expressions to help you project confidence and clarity during the interview. Talk about a game changer.
It's like having your own personal interview coach in your pocket.
Okay, back to those questions. Number 5 dives into the financial side of things. How do you ensure that your pricing strategies are competitive in the market? This is where you really need to put on your strategic thinking cap.
It's super important to show that you know how the market works and can strike that balance between attracting customers and making sure your business is profitable. Explain how you research what your competitors are charging, analyze cost structures, and factor in any potential changes in demand.
So what are some specific strategies you've used in the past to ensure you were pricing things competitively?
One strategy is to offer volume discounts or package deals. This can encourage customers to buy more and help you sell larger quantities of your inventory. Another strategy is to focus on those value-added services like extended warranties or on-site support. This can justify a higher price point and set you apart from competitors who are just focused on being the cheapest.
Those are some really smart strategies. Now, for a curveball, what if one of your competitors suddenly slashes their prices? What do you do?
That's a situation where you need to think fast and really understand your target market. Would you adjust your prices to match or even undercut your competitor? Or would you double down on what makes you special, like the quality of your products, your strong supplier relationships, or the expertise of your team? It all depends on the specific situation and your overall business plan.
That's some great advice. Being adaptable and thinking strategically are key in this industry. Now, before we jump into more questions, I want to point out another awesome resource from RoleCatcher, their career guides.
These guides are packed with insights into different career paths, tips for growing professionally, and strategies for showcasing your skills. They're a goldmine for anyone looking to climb the ladder in the wholesale industry.
And the best part is they're tailored to specific roles. So you can find a guide just for wholesale merchants in the office, machinery, and equipment sector. How cool is that? Okay, on to question 6. Can you describe your experience in developing sales strategies?
This is your chance to really shine as a sales expert. Think about some successful sales campaigns you've led. Did you identify a brand new target market, set up a referral program, make the most of social media or online platforms? Don't forget to measure your results. Did you crush sales targets or expand your market share?
Okay, follow-up question. How would you go about creating a sales strategy for a brand new product line in the office, machinery, and equipment market?
I'd start by doing my homework and researching the market to pinpoint the target customer for this new line. What are their needs and what are their pain points? Then I'd look at the competition to see how our product stacks up against what's already out there. And finally, I'd map out a marketing plan that includes online advertising, content marketing, social media engagement, and maybe even attending industry events to show off the product.
All right, we're making good progress. Let's tackle question 7, which dives into conflict resolution. Can you tell me about a time when you had to resolve a conflict with a customer?
Remember, being good at resolving conflicts is a valuable skill. Pick a specific example where you successfully navigated a tricky situation. Describe the steps you took. Did you really listen to the customer's concerns? Did you try to see things from their point of view? Did you offer a solution that met their needs? The key is to demonstrate that you can stay calm and turn a negative experience into a positive one.
Okay, so you followed all the best practices, but the customer is still really upset. How do you prevent the situation from escalating?
First, I'd take a deep breath and stay calm. I'd acknowledge their frustration and offer a sincere apology. Then I'd focus on finding a solution, even if it means bringing my manager in or suggesting different options. The key is to stay professional and show that I genuinely want to help.
All right, question number 8. How do you approach negotiating with suppliers and customers? Feels like this is a core skill for a wholesale merchant.
Negotiation is the name of the game. Describe your style. Are you collaborative, assertive, or a mix of both? Do you prioritize building relationships, researching the needs of the other party, or having a solid BTNA?
Hold on, let's clarify what a BTNA is for our listeners.
A BTNA is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Basically, it's your backup plan if you can't strike a deal. Having a strong BTNA gives you more power because you're not desperate to close the deal at any cost.
I like that. It's like having an insurance policy for your negotiation. So can you give us an example of a BTNA in this kind of role?
Sure, let's say you're negotiating a big order of printers with a new supplier. They're offering a decent price, but their delivery timeframe doesn't really work for you. Your BDTNA could be a pre-existing agreement with another supplier who might charge a bit more but can deliver sooner.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I just want to remind everyone that RoleCatcher's AI can actually provide personalized feedback on your answers to these negotiation questions. It can help you fine-tune your approach and sound more confident. All right, on to question number 9. Can you describe your experience in managing a team?
Even if you haven't officially had a management title, you've probably had chances to lead. Maybe you mentored a colleague, spearheaded a project, or took charge of improving a process. Describe how you motivated and inspired others, delegated tasks, effectively facilitated communication, and created a positive team atmosphere.
Here's a follow-up. What's your take on handling conflict within a team? Let's say 2 team members have totally different working styles and are always clashing. How would you handle that?
I'd address the issue head-on by getting those 2 team members together for a conversation. I'd encourage them to share their perspectives, listen to each other's concerns, and find some common ground. Then I'd help them find a compromise that lets them work together effectively.
That's a great example of conflict resolution. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. But don't worry, there's more to come. We'll be back in part 2 to tackle even more challenging interview questions and provide expert insights to help you land your dream job as a wholesale merchant in the office machinery and equipment industry. Stay tuned.
And we're back for part 2 of our deep dive on how to totally ace your wholesale merchant interview in the office machinery and equipment world. We've got even more insightful questions to cover and strategies to unpack.
It's like we're giving you all the cheat codes to interview success. So let's jump right back into those RoleCatcher sample questions. Question number 10. How would you describe your sales approach? This one seems less about technical skills and more about personality.
It's all about striking that balance between being persuasive, but also being able to truly understand what the client needs. It's not about just pushing products, it's about offering the right solutions. So think about your own approach. Do you focus on building rapport, active listening, or maybe customizing solutions for specific problems?
That makes sense. I bet in this industry you're dealing with some pretty savvy customers, people who are responsible for making big purchasing decisions for their companies.
Exactly. So imagine you're sitting down with a potential customer who's not really buying into those typical sales pitches. How do you break through that wall and make a genuine connection?
That's a tough one. I guess I'd start by acknowledging their skepticism and let them know that I'm not just there to make a sale. I'm there to help them find the best solution for their specific needs.
That's a great starting point. Remember, being authentic and showing empathy can go a long way. Focus on understanding their concerns and showing that you're truly invested in their success.
Okay, question number 11 throws us a curveball. Imagine you have a limited budget for marketing a new line of office equipment. How would you allocate your resources? This feels like it's testing your strategic thinking skills, not just your marketing knowledge.
It's all about knowing your target audience and choosing the most effective ways to reach them. Would you focus on online advertising, attending trade shows, content marketing? You need to be able to explain your choices and how you'd measure your return on investment.
Okay, let's say I decide to go with online advertising and trade shows. Why those two?
That's a smart strategy. Online advertising lets you really target specific groups of people and track how well your ads are performing. Trade shows give you a chance to showcase your products in person, connect with potential customers, and see what your competition is up to.
Right. And since I'm working with a tight budget, I could focus on going to regional trade shows that are specifically relevant to my target market instead of trying to be everywhere at once.
Exactly. It's about making those strategic choices that maximize your impact with the resources you have.
Okay, what about question 12? Describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision regarding a supplier. This one seems like it's heavy on ethics and making those tough choices.
It's about balancing the needs of your business with ethical considerations. Maybe you had to switch suppliers because of quality issues, even though it disrupted some existing relationships. Or perhaps you negotiated a tough contract to make sure your company was getting fair pricing.
So how do you navigate those situations where there's no easy right or wrong answer?
Transparency and clear communication are key. If you have to make a decision that could negatively affect a supplier, explain your reasoning and explore any alternative options. It's about maintaining your integrity and building trust, even when things get challenging.
Okay, I'm going to throw in a hypothetical follow-up question here. What if you had to choose between a supplier who offered the lowest prices but had some questionable ethical practices and another supplier who was more expensive but had a really good reputation for social responsibility? How do you weigh those factors?
That's a tough one. It comes down to thinking about the long-term consequences of your decision. That lower price might be tempting in the short term, but partnering with an unethical supplier could hurt your company's reputation and even lead to legal issues down the road.
You're right. Sometimes saving a few bucks up front isn't worth the potential risk. So it's important to look at the bigger picture and make sure your choices align with your company's values. Now, before we move on to more questions, I want to quickly mention how RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you prepare for these ethical dilemmas.
The AI can look at your answers and flag any potential red flags or things that don't quite add up that might raise concerns for a hiring manager. It can also suggest different ways to phrase things or give examples that might better showcase your ethical decision-making process.
That's super helpful. It's like having an ethics consultant on speed dial. Okay, question 13. What software programs are you familiar with that are relevant to wholesale merchandising? This is where we get into the tech side of things.
This is where you want to highlight your expertise in any industry-specific software, like inventory management systems, CRM platforms, or data analytics tools. But don't just list programs off. Explain how you've used them in the past and what results you achieved.
So let's say I'm proficient in a CRM like Salesforce and an inventory management system like NetSuite. How would I explain that in my answer?
You could say something like, I'm proficient in Salesforce, which I've used to manage customer interactions, track sales opportunities, and create reports. I'm also experienced in NetSuite, which I've used to optimize inventory levels, streamline order fulfillment, and improve supply chain efficiency.
That sounds impressive. Now, what if they ask you about a software program that you've never used before?
Just be honest. Don't pretend to be an expert in something you're not. But also let them know that you're willing to learn. You could say, while I haven't worked with that particular program, I'm a fast learner, and I'm sure I could get up to speed quickly. I'm comfortable with similar programs, and I'm always looking to learn new skills.
That shows you're adaptable and committed to continuous learning. All right, question 14. How do you stay organized and manage multiple projects simultaneously? This is a classic interview question, but in the world of wholesale, where things move so fast, it takes on a whole new meaning.
It's about showing them that you can handle multiple deadlines, prioritize tasks, and keep a clear overview of all your projects.
So what's your personal system for staying organized?
I like to use a combination of project management software, a good old-fashioned to-do list, and a color-coded calendar. I also prioritize tasks based on how urgent and important they are, and I delegate whenever I can.
Okay, let's make this scenario real. You're juggling multiple deadlines, your inbox is exploding, and then a major supplier calls with an urgent request. How do you keep your cool and stay on top of everything?
Deep breath, prioritize, communicate. I'd figure out how urgent each task is. Which one's going to cause the biggest problem if I don't get it done right away? Which one's the most important for reaching our overall goals? Then I delegate if possible and make sure I'm communicating clearly with everyone involved about any potential delays or changes to the timeline.
That's a great strategy. It's all about staying calm, thinking strategically, and keeping everyone in the loop. Now let's switch gears for a moment and talk about RoleCatcher's career guides again.
These guides are packed with information about different career paths, tips for professional development, and strategies for showcasing your skills.
And they're constantly being updated with the latest industry trends and insights, so you know you're getting the most relevant information. Okay, back to the interview questions. Question 15. How would you handle a situation where a shipment of office equipment arrived damaged?
This is all about showing your problem-solving skills and your ability to think on your feet. Would you contact the supplier right away? Would you document the damage carefully? Would you work with the shipping company to file a claim? Show them that you're proactive and can handle unexpected problems effectively.
Okay, let's add a twist to this. What if this damaged shipment is causing a big delay for one of your most important clients? How do you break the news to them and manage their expectations?
Transparency and empathy are crucial. I'd get in touch with the client right away, explain the situation clearly, and apologize for the inconvenience. Then I'd outline the steps I'm taking to fix the problem and give them a realistic timeline for when they can expect a solution.
That's a great example of taking ownership and keeping the client informed. Okay, moving on to question 16. How do you identify potential new markets for office machinery and equipment? This is where you get to show off your strategic thinking and your ability to spot opportunities.
It's about showing that you understand market trends and can think beyond your current customer base. Would you analyze industry data to find areas that are growing? Would you go to trade shows to see what new technologies are coming out? Would you do surveys or focus groups to get insights from potential customers?
Those are all great ideas. So let's say you found a promising new market, but it's outside of your company's current geographical reach. How would you go about expanding into that market?
I'd start by doing my research to understand the specific needs and challenges of that market. Then I'd look into different distribution options, like partnering with local businesses or setting up a presence in that region.
Okay, and what about marketing? How would you adjust your marketing strategy to reach this new audience?
I'd need to tailor my message and choose marketing channels that are relevant to that specific region. That might involve translating marketing materials, partnering with local influencers, or attending industry events in that area.
That's a perfect example of thinking strategically and adapting your approach for different markets. Now, before we jump into more questions, I want to remind everyone that RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your answers and give you personalized feedback, helping you pinpoint areas to improve and sound more confident during your interview. Okay, question 17. Describe a time when you had to persuade a client to buy a more expensive product or service.
This question is all about your ability to demonstrate value and show them the return on their investment. It's not about pushing the priciest option. It's about finding the solution that truly fits the client's needs, even if it costs a bit more.
So how do you handle those conversations where the client is hesitant about the price?
I'd focus on the long-term benefits and cost savings. I'd highlight the features and capabilities that set the more expensive option apart and give examples of how those features will benefit them in a real way, like boosting productivity, reducing downtime, or lowering operating costs.
Okay, let's say you've made your case, but the client is still stuck on the price difference. What's your next move?
I'd explore different financing options or payment plans that could make the investment more manageable for them. I'd also emphasize the value they'd be getting and the potential risks of going with a cheaper option that might not meet their needs in the long run.
Okay, question 18 asks, how do you handle a situation where a customer isn't happy with a product they bought? This is a classic test of your customer service skills.
The key is to turn that negative experience into a positive one. Listen carefully to their concerns, show that you understand their frustration, and offer a genuine apology. Then focus on finding a solution that addresses their needs and builds back their trust in your company.
Okay, let's say the customer wants a full refund for a product that's past the return window. How do you navigate that tricky situation?
I'd start by reviewing the specifics of their situation and explaining the reasoning behind the return policy. Then I'd explore other options, like offering a partial refund, a credit towards a future purchase, or in exchange for a different product. The goal is to find a compromise that makes the customer happy while still sticking to company policies.
That's a great example of balancing customer satisfaction with company rules. Now let's move on to question 19. Describe a time when you had to work with a team to achieve a common goal.
Choose an example that shows off your strengths as a team player. Did you help everyone communicate effectively? Did you delegate tasks well? Did you help resolve conflicts? Show them that you can create a positive team environment and help everyone achieve success.
Okay, let's say you're working on a big project with a team, and one person is constantly missing deadlines and not pulling their weight. How do you handle that?
I would talk to that team member, directly express my concerns, and offer my support. I'd try to understand why they're having trouble and work with them to create a plan for improvement.
Okay, so you've had that conversation, but the problem isn't going away. What's your next step?
If things don't get better, I would talk to my manager or team leader to figure out other solutions. It's important to document the situation and keep everyone involved in the loop to make sure we're all at the same page.
Okay, question 20. How do you handle stress and pressure in a fast-paced work environment? This is a really important question, especially for a role like wholesale merchant, where deadlines are tight and the stakes are high.
This is your chance to show them that you can stay calm, focused, and productive under pressure. Do you prioritize your tasks well? Do you take breaks to clear your head? Do you delegate when you can?
Okay, picture this. You're working on a major deal, a critical deadline is approaching, and then boom, several unexpected challenges pop up all at once. How do you stay focused and make sure everything turns out okay?
First, I'd take a step back and assess the situation. Then I'd prioritize the most important tasks. I'd also communicate clearly with everyone involved about any potential delays or changes to the timeline. And most importantly, I'd try to stay calm and remind myself that even the toughest situations can be handled with a clear head and a strategic approach.
That's a great attitude. It's all about staying cool and adapting to the ever-changing world of wholesale. We're going to take a quick break here, but don't worry, we're not done yet. In part 3 of this deep dive, we'll tackle the final set of interview questions and leave you with some powerful insights to help you not just get the job, but also thrive in your career as a wholesale merchant. Stay tuned. Right, we're back for the final round of our wholesale merchant interview prep deep dive. You've been with us through a ton of questions already, so let's finish strong.
Think of this as the final boss level of your interview prep. We're going to give you the tools to really impress those hiring managers.
Okay, question 21 brings up e-commerce. What are your thoughts on the impact of e-commerce on the wholesale industry? It seems like this is a chance to show them you're not just a salesperson. You understand how the industry is changing.
Exactly. E-commerce is a major player, even in wholesale. You want to acknowledge the growth of online marketplaces and how much demand there is for digital solutions. Talk about both the opportunities and the challenges it brings.
So I could mention how e-commerce opens up new markets and makes transactions smoother, but also how it increases competition and puts pressure on those traditional wholesale models.
Exactly. Show them you're thinking critically about how wholesalers need to change in order to do well in this digital world.
Okay, what if they follow up with, how do you see the role of a wholesale merchant changing with e-commerce? What are some important things to touch on?
Talk about how the role is becoming more strategic. It's not just about taking orders anymore. It's about building relationships online, analyzing data to understand customer behavior, and using tech tools to improve every step of the process.
Got it. So the wholesale merchant of the future needs to be comfortable with technology and be adaptable, able to combine those traditional sales skills with a digital mindset.
Absolutely. Show them you're ready for those changes.
Question 22 takes us back to customer service. Describe a time when you went above and beyond to satisfy a customer. It feels like every interview has this question.
It's a classic for a reason. Hiring managers want to know you're focused on the customer and willing to go the extra mile. Pick an example that really shows your dedication and problem-solving skills.
So instead of saying, I helped a customer find the right product, I should share a story about a time I helped them meet a crazy deadline or solved a tough technical problem.
Yes, paint a picture that shows you're not just meeting expectations, you're blowing them away.
All right, let's flip that. What if they ask, tell me about a time you failed to satisfy a customer?
Even those negative experiences can be great lessons. Be honest about what happened, but focus on what you learned from it and how you've changed your approach because of it.
Question 23 brings us back to negotiating. How would you handle a situation where a supplier won't budge on price? This is something I struggle with. I hate feeling stuck.
It's all about getting creative and remembering that price isn't everything. Maybe you can negotiate things like volume discounts, payment terms, or even value-added services.
So if I can't get a lower price per unit, maybe I can get free shipping or extended warranties included.
Exactly. Think about what other things would be beneficial to you and your company.
What if I've tried all that and they still won't change the price? What then?
And you need to look at your options. Is this supplier the only one who has this product? Are there others you could consider? Sometimes walking away from a negotiation is the best choice, even if it's not what you wanted.
Okay, here's a question that always makes me nervous. What are your salary expectations? It feels like a trap.
Do your research beforehand. Know what people in similar roles in your area are making. Be confident about what you want, but be open to negotiation.
So if I want a salary of, let's say, X, should I just come right out and say it?
You can be a little more diplomatic. You could say, based on my experience and skills, I'm looking for a salary in the range of X to Y. But I'm happy to talk about the whole compensation package and benefits.
Okay, that sounds much better. What if they offer me a lower salary than I was hoping for? How do I handle that?
Don't be afraid to negotiate, but do it professionally and respectfully. Remind them of what you bring to the table and highlight your skills and achievements. You might be able to negotiate other parts of the compensation package, like vacation time or professional development opportunities.
And lastly, the question that's your chance to shine. Do you have any questions for us? This is where you show them you're really interested and get more information to help you make your decision.
Don't let this opportunity go to waste. Come prepared with a list of good questions that go beyond what you can find on their website. Ask about the company culture opportunities for growth, or the challenges and rewards of this specific role.
So instead of just asking about benefits, I could ask about the company's commitment to sustainability or their plans for expanding into new markets.
Exactly. Show them you've done your research and you're thinking about the big picture.
Wow, we've really covered a lot in this deep dive. We've unpacked those tricky interview questions, shared some expert advice, and even talked about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you improve your answers and boost your confidence.
Remember, preparation is key. Put in the time to practice your answers and use those RoleCatcher resources to your advantage.
And don't forget to let your passion shine through. Show them you're driven and eager to learn and grow.
The wholesale merchant role in the office machinery and equipment world is constantly changing. Show those hiring managers you're not just qualified for the job, now you're ready to be a leader in the industry in the future.
That's a great point to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Remember, you got this. Good luck with your interview.